Welcome to the Common Man Football Show. My name is James Coburn, and today's episode, we're talking about the Denver Broncos 2017 season review analytics. And this video is going to deal with a lot of the data that I've been talking about for most of the season when it comes to team-based data. And we're also going to be getting into some other sort of data points that I don't normally talk about, because the other data points I talk about usually is season end. So like the end of the season data, if you will. Like it's data that I don't really like to keep track of as the season goes on because it just gets too complicated. But we're going to be looking at that other stuff as well. And if you're new to the channel, so if you're new to my content and you're new to all the stuff I'm going to be talking about today in terms of analytics, just go to the description. All terms and definitions will be there. So if you get lost at some point and you don't really understand what I'm talking about, you can just go there. But the basic point of this video is we're going to look at how the Denver Broncos did when it came to team statistics, where they were bad, where they were good, and also look towards the future in terms of the areas in which they can improve. So I don't want to do a video just bashing the Broncos and saying why they were so terrible this year, but I do want to make a video where I do get into some of that stuff, but also give you some clues, give you some ideas in terms of where they can improve in the future so that they can win more football games. And especially win more football games based on the fact that teams that do perform well based on these statistics do win more football games. So that's kind of the biggest kind of thing to look at. So first off, I'm going to look at the Denver Broncos in terms of season data review. This is basically all the overall team statistical data that I've been talking about this entire season. And for the most part, the Broncos had a better defense than offense. The offense was terrible when it came to creating first downs, whereas the defense was pretty good in terms of preventing first downs. And then when you look at the offense's overall ability to prevent turnovers, sack percentage, and offensive score percentage, significantly below average. So the biggest kind of driver of issues for this team was the offense. The offense turned the football over way too much. The offense allowed too many sacks, and the offense just could not put up enough points to win football games this year. When you get to the defensive side of the football, the defense definitely wasn't that amazing either. They had about a 45.35 defensive offensive score percentage, which is below average. The ability to create turnovers is another thing that kind of took a step back this year. Significantly below average in terms of turnover percentage on defense, and also very below average in terms of interception percentage. And even sack percentage was only about 50%. So the overall team's ability to create sacks, to create turnovers, and to prevent points was below average this year. And then when you get to special teams, punt return yardage, kick return yardage, below average in both those areas. Defensive punt return yardage, they were a little bit above average. Defensive kick return yardage, they were below average. Field goal percentage, significantly below average in terms of field goal percentage, which is by far one of the more important special team statistics to look at. Extra point percentage was kind of average. Punting average was a little bit higher. And their overall team grade was 22.36 out of 100. So this was not a very strong football team. The offense was significantly below average in every metric. The defense was also below average. And the special teams, as you can clearly see, like this was just not a very good football team in terms of how they performed statistically this season. Now, when you look at how this Broncos team performed compared to the team last year, there really wasn't a huge difference. I mean, the big thing was the offense regressed. I mean, you can see in terms of turnover percentage, sack percentage, offensive score percentage, both those areas did get worse. Like the offense got worse. The defense also got worse, but they didn't get significantly worse. Like they got a little bit worse, but their defense last year was not exactly the most, the strongest part of their unit either. So in many ways, they just kind of regressed. They regressed on defense. They regressed on offense. So in general, they just kind of regressed. Another thing that also kind of, again, worrisome is the field goal percentage that went from about 64.72 to 19.84. So that's another sort of issue to kind of monitor and kind of keep track of, because that's a big drop when it comes to field goal percentage. And field goal percentage is very important in terms of winning football games. But ultimately, you can kind of look at the rest of this information. In terms of this Broncos team, comparing this Broncos team to every Broncos team since 1998, This was one of the worst Broncos teams in that time span. It's top 5 bottom. I would say, based on the data, top 5 bottom in terms of their overall play. So, this is definitely not a very good football team by any stretch of the imagination. But this is just giving you some information to let you know, the areas where you are lacking, the areas where you're having issues, and the areas to kind of improve. Now, when you look at, what areas to actually improve, this chart essentially deals with looking at the average scores for teams that win 12 to 16 wins, 9 to 11 wins, 8 wins or more, or 7 wins or less. So essentially, it's kind of a ballpark area. If you're going to be a team that wins 12 to 16 wins, those teams typically perform like this. 9 to 11 wins, they perform like this. 8 wins or more, they perform like this, and so on and so forth. Big areas where the Broncos need to improve in the future: total O score, they have to get better in terms of creating first downs. Turnover percentage, they have to get better in terms of not turning the football over as high as high as they have. Sack percentage, they cannot allow as many sacks as they've allowed in 2017. Offensive score percentage, of course, definitely needs to go up as well. They have to be able to put points on the board. Defense needs to prevent more points. The ability to create turnovers on defense also needs to go up. Sack percentage needs to go up. They have to be able to sack the quarterback at a higher rate than they have this year. Interception percentage also needs to go up. Punting average, kick return yardage, they need to put a little bit more focus to bump that up to at least average in terms of that. Same thing with same thing on in terms of defensive punt return and defensive kick return. They definitely need to kind of consider doing something about that. Field goal percentage, big thing. I would try to get a place kicker in this draft or this free agency, because 19.84 out of 100 is not cutting it. You're not going to win a lot of football games if you have a field goal, if you have a place kicker that is that bad. Extra point percentage, definitely not where it needs to be. Needs a little bit better than that. Punting average is fine. There's nothing really, it's not amazing, but you don't really need to be amazing in terms of punting average. And then the overall score, of course, is not where it needs to be in terms of getting into that 8 wins or more, 9 to 11 wins, or 12 to 16 wins. So a lot of work needs to be done for this Broncos team. And then when we look at other sort of data points, so this is the other data point. This is the other data that I don't really talk about that much during the season, because it's a lot of, it just gives me more stuff to add that really isn't relevant until the very end. But this is how the Broncos have performed in terms of other analytics, other data points. You can pause the video right now and look at all this, information at your own leisure. But this basically looks at things like completion percentage data, first down conversion rate with the run, and first down conversion rate with the pass. And if you look at all this information, it's clear to see that the passing game, definitely regressed in terms of first down and second down completion percentage. The running game got a little bit better on third down. As you can see, last year they had a terrible rushing offense in terms of the ability to create first downs with the run on first down, second down, and third down. This year they actually did pretty well on third down. First and second down were not anything to write home about, but third down definitely was better. And then when it comes to the ability to convert with the pass on first down, second down, and third down, below average in terms of everything. I would say it was kind of the same result as 2016 versus 2017. So again, the passing game needs to improve. The running game needs some improvement. And of course, completion percentage data definitely needs improvement as well. So again, you can pause the video and look at the rest of this information, but now we're just going to get into, where the Cowboys need to improve. So when we get into free agency, when we get into the draft, what do they need to look at? Well, first off, on offense, they have to get more offensive playmakers. If you're not putting up enough points, you have to do that. They have to get a better quarterback, because you saw the completion percentage data. You saw in terms of the ability to convert with the pass in various downs and distances. They do not have a quarterback that can consistently perform the way he needs to perform, and they have to get better in that area. So quarterback is definitely another thing they need to either address in free agency or the draft. Offensive line, big issue. They have to be able to prevent sacks, period. They did not have much luck in terms of free agency to fix that. Menelik Watson is a terrible athlete coming out of Florida State. He's very old as well. They tried it with him. It didn't really work out. But ultimately, they have to get better in terms of that. Defensively speaking, I do think they need to start addressing defense. And I do understand there's a lot of people going, well, this is a historically good defense. Yeah, you were a historically good defense. You were pretty good on defense. You're not very good on defense right now. So you definitely need to start looking into getting more depth, getting more impact players, and getting players specifically that can create turnovers. Guys that can create fumbles, interceptions, those types of plays. Those are the guys that are going to really help this defense out. So getting guys that can make plays on defense can really help this defense out. And sacks as well. So getting some more guys to put pressure on the quarterback, sack the quarterback, that is another sort of area to kind of consider. And then lastly, I think you really need to invest in a better place kicker. Going after a guy that is a lot better in terms of field goals and stuff like that, I think is going to pay dividends to not only increase your offensive score percentage, because when you have a place kicker that can actually hit those 3-pointers, your offensive score percentage will naturally go up. But two, you'll win more football games, because when you have a kicker that can hit those 3-pointers consistently, you're just, that consistency is going to pay off in terms of wins, especially when it comes to tight games and those other sort of areas. So those are all the areas that I would address in terms of free agency and the draft. Again, I'm going to be making more videos in the future, kind of getting into the draft, of course, and getting into different positions and stuff like that. But I just want to get this video out there to let you know about all the areas where the Broncos were not that great, and of course all the areas where they can improve. But ultimately, of course, my name is James Coburn. You can find my other work at draftcoburn.wordpress.com. You can also follow me on Twitter at Geometrics. And if you like this content and you want more content like this, be sure to leave a like and subscribe. Share this video as well with anybody that you know. Hit that notification button so that you're always reminded when another video of mine drops. And I'll talk to you guys in the next video. Peace.